This is the Canon 5D Classic, and it really is like shooting a never-ending roll of Kodak Portra. I've been shooting this iconic full-frame DSLR over the last couple of weeks, and I am so excited to share the results with you. I really believe the hype on this one, so let's just get straight into it. The Canon 5D Mark I, or the Classic as it's come to be known, was a revolution in digital SLR technology. It was released in 2005 for $3,299 and adjusted for inflation, that might sound expensive, but at the time, the Canon 1DS Mark II was the main full-frame alternative and sold for twice as much. The 5DC put a full-frame sensor in the hands of thousands of photographers who previously couldn't afford one, and many of them would go on to build their careers with it. Let's cover off some key specs. We're looking at 12.7 megapixels, 3 frames per second, and ISO from 100 to 1600, which isn't going to impress anyone in 2025, but that's really not what makes this camera so special. The 5D Classic has some of the cleanest, most pleasing Portra-like rendering from a camera I have ever seen. I've been testing this camera with a variety of different lenses. The 40mm 2.8 Canon pancake lens, the humble 50mm 1.8 Canon lens, and then went a little bit rogue and adapted this Pentax lens. This is the M42 mount 50mm 1.4, the 7-element version. Plus, I have also done something really cool and put my Leica 90mm lens on this camera too. The 5DC has 9 focus points, but from what I have read, it looks as though people are just using the center point because it's more accurate. This is normally what I would do anyway with a lot of my other cameras. I don't really move the focus point around, so this felt really natural to me. Overall, I didn't have any major issues with the 5DC's autofocus system. I'm sure if you were trying to focus on fast-moving subjects, it might not be the most fun though. Funnily enough though, I'm not sure if it was just the location or the scenes, but the photos that I took with the 2 manual focus lenses were the ones that I preferred. The Pentax lens actually has a little bit of radioactive yellowing, but it normally lives on our Spotmatic, and my husband uses it to shoot black and white, so he just sees it as like a yellow filter and isn't interested in fixing it. Adapting it onto the 5DC, it really did seem to add like a little bit of warmth, which I really liked. It was warm, but in a subtle way. I feel like a lot of the modern film simulations tend to be too warm. They just sort of wash the image with yellow and it just never really looks quite right. The 5DC seems to do the opposite. With this camera, the warmth seems more subliminal and it lives in the highlights. I think it just looks absolutely beautiful and it reminds me so much of Portra 160, which is such an amazing stock, but it's so expensive. So I was so pleased to see these images and see something that was really convincingly looking like film to me. This 90mm Leica lens just rendered beautifully on this camera. Unfortunately, I only used it once and I will definitely be using it again because this day when I used this, those photos were my favorite. Manually focusing in the bright light that I was in was no real problem, but I imagine if you were in lower light trying to use a manual lens, it might not be so much fun. I think you can put a focusing screen in this camera, but it's not something that I've had a chance to look into yet. People rave about the JPEGs from this camera, and I have to say that is one part of the hype that I just wasn't seeing. There were a handful of straight out of camera JPEGs I liked, but for the most part, I found them oversaturated in a smudgy way and just nowhere near as crisp and clean as the RAW files. The RAWs just come up so well in Lightroom with all of the enhancement features we have nowadays. You can really bring so much out of the file to just make the image look so crispy. I think there's definitely some romanticism with the straight out of camera images from these older cameras. My advice is shoot RAW and embrace the tools we have to get the most out of what this can do, but each to their own. There's a couple of favorites here that I want to touch on from a color point of view, particularly these photos taken at the little boat harbor. There was a lot of yellow popping up for me, and just the way it looks so rich It's warm, but it's not too warm. It's vibrant and striking, but not so much so that it looks like fake or oversaturated or just too much. I love the warmth of film, but even stocks like Kodak Gold, I can find to just be too warm and too yellow and not really like them. So all of these images are just sitting so perfectly for me in the realm of what I want in a photo. When you add a little bit of grain in Lightroom and zoom in, I honestly can't tell the difference. If someone showed me this, I would say that it was film. Color is such a huge factor for me in my photography, and transitioning a little bit more and experimenting with digital cameras, it's great to see such amazing color rendition from an affordable digital camera like the 5DC. A couple more examples of color here that I really liked. This purple is stunning. And again, it's not over the top. Like if I shot it with Ectar, for example, and it would be kind of like bleeding out and like very, very, very punchy, which I do like sometimes, but not all the time. In my opinion, it's just the perfect balance. I finally feel like I found the perfect digital camera to give me a convincing film look. If you would like to take a closer look at these 5DC images for yourself to see what I'm talking about, you can head to lucylumen.com and see them in my photography portfolio, which is hosted by Squarespace. If you are a photographer wanting to showcase your photography portfolio, your commercial work, and your personal projects, I highly recommend Squarespace because the templates are built specifically for photographers just like you. You can easily drag and drop and customize everything to make it look unique and on brand for you. I built my Squarespace website about 3 years ago now, and I was able to build something really quickly and easily. Since then, it has grown with me, and I am now able to sell things like my presets and digital products, even my first online course, all through the online store, which is really simple to set up. If you want to take yourself seriously as a photographer in 2025, I think that you definitely need a website, and Squarespace is the perfect place to do that. There's a reason why so many photographers use Squarespace, and you can too by starting a free 14-day trial, playing around, seeing what you come up with, and then using my code to get 10% off. Don't forget, you can also use this code if you are renewing your Squarespace website too. So for a 14-day free trial, head to www.squarespace.com/LucyLumen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code LucyLumen. The shutter sound and feel on this is exquisite. I love it so much. It sounds so snappy, and it goes up to 1/8000th, which is pretty decent. With the ISO limitations, this camera really does perform best in bright, sunny light, but there is one problem. I'm not sure if it's a calibration issue or not, but this one seems to bias heavily towards overexposure. This happened with all 4 lenses that I tested, and it wasn't because I was maxing the shutter speed out. I ended up just dialing in some negative exposure compensation when I was out in sunlight. Indoors, it didn't seem to do this as much, so I'm not really sure what's going on. I will keep testing and report back. If you're watching and you have this camera and you've noticed it, please let me know below. As someone who uses film cameras from this same Canon kind of era, this felt very natural to me. I actually forgot that I was even using a digital camera. The button layout all makes sense and is easy to use. It is a little bit on the heavier side, but it's also, solid and confidence inspiring. Nothing at all on this feels flimsy, which I think is such a testament to something that was built 20 years ago that still feels new and in such great condition today. Some of my Nikon cameras feel a bit like sticky and loose, and I just generally find that Canon's build quality is far superior. As with most digital cameras of this era, the LCD screen on the back isn't great. You can't really tell if you've hit focus or what the image is exactly going to look like until you get home. I actually quite like that. I like that experience. This does, however, make it kind of not great for anything that you are doing that's very serious, where you need to know that you've got the shot and be very confident about that. So there you have it. The 5DC, it really is that great. It simply just lives up to the hype, which sometimes doesn't happen online when people say so many great things about a camera, but Truly, this is one of the best shooting experiences I've had. I am super in love with the photos. I cannot wait to take this out and keep shooting with it. If you are someone who is looking for a filmy look, I think this is a great option, and it can be bought for a fraction of the price of what it was new. What I'm thinking of is taking this and my Nikon D700 out and risking the back pain of carrying both of them around on a photo walk and doing a little side-by-side classic versus legend and see them both up against each other. I think that would be really cool. If you also think that's a great idea, comment below and let me know. I'm super keen to hear what you guys think of the images and of the 5D Classic. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. If you need a website or you want to update yours, don't forget to use my code LucyLumen below.